In this video, I'll be giving you my full comparison between the Steelcase Leap V2 and the Steelcase Amia. These are two chairs that I have a ton of experience with, as I've used them for years as my daily driver, and they're also some of my favorite chairs that I've ever tested. Throughout this video, we'll be breaking down some of the major similarities and differences between these two chairs to help you decide which one is going to be the best fit for you. And I just want to say, this video is not sponsored. I bought all the chairs that you'll be seeing throughout this video with my own money, so you can be sure that this is my honest opinion after actually testing both of these chairs extensively. I will, however, have some affiliate links in the description, so if you find the information in this video helpful, then please consider using these links, as it really helps support the channel at no additional cost to you. Now, with all that said, let's jump right in by taking a look at the overall design of the two chairs. Now, just by looking at them, you can tell that the Leap and the Amia both share a lot of the same design elements. Compared to some other brands on the market like Herman Miller, Hayworth, or even some gaming chairs, these two Steelcase chairs definitely have a more simplistic design. Nothing super flashy, but both chairs have a ton of different frame and upholstery color options, so you'll be able to customize them to fit your specific office or gaming setup. If we directly compare these two chairs, I'd say that the Steelcase Leap offers more of a modern and sophisticated look with clean lines and a contoured shape that really highlights its ergonomic features. In general, I'd say that it has more of a high-tech professional vibe, which kind of just stands out more in a contemporary office setting. On the other hand, I'd say the Steelcase Amia has more of an understated and minimalist design. It focuses more on simplicity and functionality. Most of its ergonomic features are hidden, which gives it a cleaner but more subtle appearance. Now, personally, I like the way both chairs look, but for different reasons. I think the Steelcase Leap stands out a little more and kind of adds to the overall aesthetic of the office setup, whereas the Amia does the opposite and kind of just blends into the setup without being too distracting or drawing too much attention. When it comes to materials and build quality, both chairs are nearly identical. Both chairs use a high-quality, flexible plastic frame that helps promote movement throughout the day, as well as the same high-density foam padding for the seat and backrest. They both also have the same exact upholstery options, so you'll be able to find something that fits your specific office or gaming setup, regardless of which chair you choose. Overall, I'd say this is actually a huge benefit for the Steelcase Amia. Although the Steelcase Leap is technically their flagship model, the Amia has nearly identical build quality and materials, despite being several $100s cheaper. I mean, just look at them. Both chairs look very similar. And after testing both chairs extensively, I can confidently say that the Amia does not feel like a cheaper chair. It feels every bit as well built as the Steelcase Leap. And as a result, I'd say both chairs have some of the best build quality out of any office chair I've tested, right up there with the top of the line Herman Miller chairs. And just to put it in perspective, my first Steelcase Leap chair is one from 2007 that I bought used on eBay, and it's still in pristine working condition today. Now, while both chairs are similar in materials and build quality, the major price difference between these two chairs will mostly come from the adjustability options. Now, I'll quickly run through some of the similarities and differences between the two, but I'll go more into detail later on when I'm talking about the overall comfort of the two chairs. For starters, both chairs will have the standard adjustment options that you would expect in a high-end ergonomic chair. Both chairs have height adjustment, seat pan depth adjustment, and the same 4D adjustable armrests. Both chairs also have an adjustable lumbar support, though only the Leap has height and depth adjustment, while the Amia only has height adjustment. Another difference between the two is that the Leap has a tilt limiter feature, which allows you to set how far back you'll be able to recline in the chair. With the Leap, you get 5 different backstop positions, whereas the Amia will only let you choose between a locked upright position or a full recline position. With both chairs, you'll get a tilt tension knob that lets you control how much force is required to recline. I'd say that both chairs have a pretty robust adjustment package, with the Leap definitely being a little bit better. The Amia has pretty much all the important ones. It's just a little bit stripped down compared to the Leap, likely to save on the cost. Now, getting into the overall comfort of the two chairs, I like to break it down into 3 main categories: the backrest, the seat, and the armrests. Starting with the backrest, I think both of these chairs have phenomenal backrests, though I would definitely give the slight edge to the Leap. Now, both chairs feature Steelcase's life back technology, meaning you'll get some flexibility due to the plastic frame. This is meant to help promote movement throughout the day because the frame will flex with you as you shift around in the chair to maintain proper support. Of the two chairs, the Steelcase Leap is going to give you a bit more flexibility compared to the Amia, so that might be something to consider if you're someone who tends to regularly shift positions while sitting. Another main difference between these two backrests is with the lumbar support. While both chairs have an adjustable lumbar support, the Leap's lumbar support is going to give you a bit more control over how it feels. Now, both chairs have height adjustment by moving the 2 tabs on the side up and down. However, the Leap also has a back tension knob that controls the stiffness of the lower back, which essentially acts as a depth adjustment for the lumbar support. This is not something you're going to get on the Amia, so you'll only have height adjustment with no depth adjustment whatsoever. In terms of how the lumbar supports feel, I'd say that both feel really good, though they're completely different from each other in terms of design. The Leap's lumbar support is a pretty standard design. It's just a piece of plastic in between the frame and the foam padding. Because it covers a smaller surface area, it's going to feel more targeted in a specific area. Compared to the Amia's lumbar support, it uses this kind of metal rail system that covers a much larger area. Now because of this, the Amia's lumbar support isn't going to feel as pronounced in a singular spot, but rather more evenly distributed throughout the entire backrest. Overall, I'd say the Leap's lumbar support is going to feel a lot more pronounced than the Amia's, so if you're someone who really likes that aggressive lumbar support, then the Leap is probably going to be the better option. Also, I really like the fact that you have more control over how the lumbar support feels with the Leap due to that back tension knob. And even if you're someone who doesn't like aggressive lumbar support, you have the option to take out the lumbar support altogether on the Leap, whereas the Amia's lumbar support is built right into the chair. That said, I do really like the way the lumbar support on the Amia is designed. I'd say that it's a much more sophisticated design with this rail system that basically shifts the entire backrest up and down with you. Compare that to the Leap, which is just a piece of plastic wedged in there. Now, I think the Amia's lumbar support is very comfortable. I just wish I had a little more control over it. It'd be nice if you could also adjust the depth, but sadly, it's only height adjustable. Now, another difference between the two backrests is that the Leap's backrest is going to be a bit taller than the Amia's. I'd say this makes a difference if you're a much taller individual. If you're very tall, then it's important to make sure that the backrest of your chair goes at least high enough to give you proper support. You'll also want to make sure that the adjustable lumbar support can be positioned high enough so that it'll hit you in that right sweet spot. Now, it's fine if the backrest doesn't completely cover all the way up to your shoulders and neck, but you'll want to make sure that your back is properly supported. I'd say that the Amia's backrest will fit people all the way up to around 6'3" or 6'4". If you're 6'4" and over, then you might want to consider the Steelcase Leap instead, since the backrest is a little bit taller. Now, the next major difference between the two backrests lies in the tilt functionality. The Steelcase Leap is going to give you a tilt limiter function. This gives you 5 different backstop positions, which essentially allows you to control how far back in the chair you'll recline. The tilt limiter is a feature that we primarily only see on higher end office chairs, so it's not something you're going to find on the Amia. Instead, with the Amia, you'll only have 2 positions. You can either lock it in an upright position or have it set to fully recline. Also, keep in mind that neither chair can actually lock you while you're in a recline position, so no matter how far you recline, you'll be able to come back up to an upright position. Also, both chairs have a tilt tension knob that will let you control how much force is needed to recline in the chair. Now, whether or not this tilt limiter feature is enough to warrant upgrading to the Leap over the Amia will entirely depend on if you think you'll need it or not. Personally, I never really used a tilt limiter feature on any chair. I prefer to just have the mechanism set to fully recline and then just adjust that tilt tension knob to allow me to sit either fully upright or in a reclined position. Now, I like this a little bit better because it gives you more of a suspended feeling while reclining rather than having kind of like a rigid backstop. When it comes to seat comfort, both chairs have some of my favorite seats that I've ever used on an office chair. And while they're pretty similar in a lot of ways, there are a few distinct differences between the two that drastically affect the overall comfort and could easily be the reason why you would choose one chair over the other. The first difference is going to be the flexibility. While both chairs have flexible seat frames, the Leap is going to be a lot more flexible. This is really important because it'll allow you to move around in the chair throughout the day and shift positions a lot easier. The Leap just has a lot more flexibility across the board, and you can really feel that in the front seat edge as you move your leg up and down. Now, the next major difference is going to be this seat shape. This is a big one and can seriously affect the overall comfort of the chair for you. The Leap seat has more of a contoured seat shape. You can see just how much it curves, especially towards the back of the seat pan. This contoured shape gives more of a cradling feeling while sitting in the chair. And because of this, some people may feel like there's not enough padding around the tailbone area where the seat kind of curves down. Now, one of the most common complaints that people have about the Leap seat is that there doesn't feel like there's enough padding around the tailbone area, and this may even cause some tailbone pain for some people. And while I personally haven't experienced any pain, I definitely think the Leap could benefit from a little extra padding to make it feel more comfortable. Now, if we compare that to the Amia seat, you'll notice that it has a much flatter seat shape. I find that this pretty much fixes all of those issues for me because it distributes your weight a little more evenly throughout the entire seat. So you really don't get that pressure buildup in the tailbone region. So despite both seats having a nearly identical amount of padding, the Amia kind of just feels like there's more padding. Also, the flatter shape feels a little more spacious in my opinion and doesn't hug you as much as the Leap's contoured seat shape. Now, while I really like both of these seats, I personally prefer the Amia seat. In my opinion, it's the most comfortable seat out of Steelcase's entire lineup. So when choosing between the two, I think it'll just boil down to what you value more, the Leap's flexibility or the Amia's flatter seat shape. I don't really think there's a right answer here. The majority of people won't have an issue with the Leap's contour seat, and in that case, I think the Leap is just kind of better overall because of its flexibility. But on the other hand, I've never heard anybody complain about the Amia seat, and personally, I find it to be a bit more comfortable. Now, when it comes to the armrest, there's not too much to compare here. Both chairs have the same 4D adjustable armrests. These are some of the best armrests you're going to find on any office chair. They offer height, width, depth, and pivot adjustments, and all of the adjustments have a large range of motion, so you can adjust them in pretty much any way you can think of. And the arm pads have a good amount of softness to them, so you can really dig your elbows into them. Overall, these are definitely top tier armrests, so I'm really glad that Steelcase offers them on the Amia as well. So now let's talk about value. Now, since both chairs are kind of higher end Steelcase chairs, there's no doubt that they're going to be expensive. But what are you actually getting for your money, and is it ultimately worth it? When it comes to policies, Steelcase offers some of the best policies out of any office chair brand, probably second only to Herman Miller. And since the Leap and Amia are both a part of Steelcase's high performance seating line, you'll get an identical warranty and return policy. Keep in mind that the warranty information may vary depending on where you live, but in the United States, you get a 12-year warranty and a 14-day return window, meaning it's a pretty safe investment. You'll pretty much be guaranteed a good chair for a long time rather than having to replace your cheaper chairs every few years or so. Now, like I mentioned, when it comes to pricing, both chairs are going to be pretty expensive. The Steelcase Leap is their flagship model. It has all of their bells and whistles, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive than the Amia, starting at around $1,300 for its base configuration. The Amia, on the other hand, is like one step down from the Leap. And while it isn't cheap by any means, it does come in at several $100s cheaper than the Leap at around $1,041 for the base configuration. Overall, I'd say that the Amia is a really good value compared to the Leap because it offers basically 95% of what you're going to get from the Leap at a much lower price. You get the same materials and build quality, armrest, warranty policy, and most of the adjustment options. The only thing you're really missing is the tilt limiter and the back tension knob, as well as a little bit of flexibility in the frame. And personally, I don't even use a lot of those features, like the tilt limiter, for example, so it might not even be a big deal for you depending on what features you think you'll need in a chair. So now let's answer the big question of which chair is going to be the right fit for you. So to do this, we'll break down the main reasons why you might want to choose one chair over the other. So starting with the Leap, the first reason why you would want to choose the Leap over the Amia is the design. So the Steelcase Leap is one of the most popular office chairs on the market, and its design is pretty iconic at this point. It's Steelcase's flagship model, and as such, I think it has a more sophisticated design and just looks a little bit better than the Amia. It has a more modern look, whereas the Amia has a simpler, more basic look, though aesthetics are obviously going to be a bit subjective. Next is the flexibility. You're going to get a lot more flexibility with the Leap, both on the backrest and the seat. You can really feel the chair flex with you as you move and shift positions, which makes it great for people who sit in their chair for 8+ hours a day. And finally is the backrest. Since the Leap is Steelcase's flagship model, you're going to get all the bells and whistles when it comes to adjustability options on the backrest. The main difference between the Leap and the Amia is that on the Leap, you'll have a tilt limiter feature with 5 different backstop positions, as well as a back tension knob to adjust the depth of the lumbar support. And as we mentioned earlier, the backrest also has much more flexibility than the Amia, so overall, I'd say the backrest on the Leap is much more comfortable. Also, something to note is that the Leap's backrest is a bit taller than the Amia's, so if you're really tall, over 6'4", then you'll probably want to go with the Leap. Now, those are some reasons why you might want to go with the Leap, but here are some reasons why you might want to consider the Amia instead. Now, first is going to be the seat comfort. The Amia has a flatter seat shape as opposed to the Leap's more contoured seat shape. In my opinion, it feels a little bit more spacious since it doesn't cradle you as much. Also, the flatter seat distributes your weight a little bit more evenly, so it feels like there's more padding than on the Leap. The contoured seat shape on the Leap can tend to cause some pressure buildup in the tailbone area, and some people have even reported some tailbone pain from the Leap seat. And while this is probably just a vocal minority and most people would probably be happy with the Leap seat, I still find that the Amia has the most comfortable seat in Steelcase's entire lineup. The next reason why you might want to go with the Amia over the Leap is the value. The Amia gives you almost everything that the Leap does, minus a couple of adjustability options, while coming in at a much lower price. You'll get the same materials and build quality, 40s armrest, and policies as the Leap, despite being several $100s cheaper, which in my opinion makes the Amia an amazing value. Now, ultimately, when it comes to comparing these two chairs, I'd say that overall the Steelcase Leap is objectively the better chair. It has everything that the Amia has and then some. So if you're willing to pay that extra price, then I definitely think you'll be happy with the Steelcase Leap. But with that said, when it comes to which chair I would personally choose, I tend to lean more toward the Amia, and here's why. The main features that the Leap has over the Amia are adjustability options that I personally don't really even use or care about, so they don't really add any value to me. I don't really use the tilt limiter feature in any chair. I personally just like to have the recline fully open and then adjust that tilt tension knob to sit either fully upright or in a reclined position if I want to. Also, I'm not someone who really likes that aggressive lumbar support, so I found the Amia's lumbar support to be plenty enough for me. Now, the thing that I value the most in an office chair is the seat comfort. And while I find both the Leap and the Amia seats to be comfortable, I found that the Amia seat to be just slightly more comfortable. And to me, this kind of just outweighs those missing features that the Leap has over the Amia. Now, I know this video is kind of long, but I hope you guys found this comparison helpful. Be sure to let me know in the comments which chair you prefer over the Leap and the Amia. And if you're still on the fence between which chair is going to be the right fit for you, you can check out my full comprehensive reviews of both of these chairs by clicking here.